Hey everybody, this is David, the Georgia photographer, and guess what? I'm on a photography trip. I'm up here in beautiful Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. We're gonna go do some stuff tomorrow and Friday and maybe Sunday morning if I can talk to recent Sierra. They're coming up later. But we're gonna try and take pictures of pretty much everything. So I'm here with Aaron and Jen. They're from Indiana. A couple of great people I've met online. We met up here in Pigeon Forge because it's pseudo halfway. It's actually a lot closer to me than it is to them, but we're all here together. We have like every piece of photography equipment you can imagine.
Later.
Get some of this poured down our throat. We're gonna go see if we can't find something to take a picture of. Fun fact, Gatlinburg does not open until 8 a.m. anywhere. You can't go in a gas station and get a bottle of water before 8 o'clock. So it seems our first stop is a place called the Sinks. This is it. So we're gonna go down here and get a photo of this. Then we're heading on to Cage Cove, maybe stop another spot or two along the way. Let's see about this. We're over here shooting a waterfall. It's right over there. It's the second one so far. These are pretty sweet. We're awful close to the road here. Okay, well, we're back to the waterfall we were shooting this morning. We went all the way to Cage Cove. We shot pictures of the flora and fauna and these little guys here and these little guys here. And there was this squirrel and, you know, there were some turkeys and a crow, and that was all we saw in the whole trip to Cage Cove. No deer, no bear, no elk, no mountain lions, no cougar, nothing larger than a wild turkey. We're gonna do a sunset photo at Clingman's Dome in a few hours. So we're gonna run into Gatlinburg and maybe grab a quick bite to eat, and then we're gonna head on out there. So let's see what this is like. Well, here it is the next morning. And I am sitting in the cabin and I'm holding handheld because I broke my Manfrotto mount, and we have a different mount rigged up and I don't want to change tripods. But as you saw from the traffic, the trip to Clingman's Dome was a wash. We didn't go there. It was going to probably take us a better part of 2 hours to get through Gatlinburg alone. So what we done was we opted to go get dinner and come back here and edit the photos that we did capture. So we had a pretty good evening out of the deal, but we didn't go to Clingman's Dome and do the sunset, which probably would have been a pretty good sunset from the way the clouds were starting to look. There was just, we were beat from that trip through Cage Cove. It was pretty grueling after a whole day of lugging around 500mm lenses and trekking up and down the trails to the cabins and trying to find the little animals here and there to photograph. And so far it's been a really fun trip. We've had a lot of fun. Learned a lot about my equipment. I mean, you just got to work with what you have. And what I want to do now is just kind of go over my photography setup that I try to shoot wildlife with. And that's going to be this equipment right here. What you see here is the Nikon D810. I've got it coupled onto my 200 to 500 f5.6 super zoom Nikkor lens, yada yada yada. I've got also in this mix is a 1.4x teleconverter. Now what that'll do is turn my 2 to 2 to 500 into a 280 to 700 millimeter f8. Now, you know, it goes up. It'll stop down from f8, but I normally shoot it wide open because you want all the light you can get. And if you run the teleconverter, you're already at f8. You start getting slower shutter speeds, so it's kind of the law of diminishing returns. If you're shooting like little songbirds like these, then you'll run into problems with the bird's movement making the photo blurry. And instead of it pixelating because of you not having enough telephoto, you're dealing with motion blur instead. So unless you've got really bright sun, the 1.4x teleconverter is not a big benefit. If you're thinking about putting together a bird photography setup, you need a good zoom lens with as low of an f-stop as you can muster up. If I could get down to f4 at 500 millimeters, I probably would. That way, when you teleconverter up, you'll be at f5.6, you know, because the 1.4x you lose one stop of light with a 1.4 teleconverter. The 2.0 teleconverter kills 2 stops of light. I have it too, but it's tough to use that one. It just seems like every time I use the 2x teleconverter, I get soft images. Anyway, let's move on to the next thing, and thank you so far for watching.
All right, this is day 2, and now that we're out here in the Greenbrier, we're over here photographing water flow across the rocks. All I brought today was the Fuji, a 10-stop ND filter. Brought my circular polarizer, but I didn't realize that the Fuji is like a 58 millimeter thread, and I brought a 52 millimeter circular polarizer. Womp, 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 figures. But Aaron and Jen have went somewhere else. I think they went down to the main intersection to get some shots down there. I wanted to get some of this water flow and just to see what it would turn out like, and it's really beautiful. As you can see, the images here, it's like you just point your camera somewhere and you get a postcard. It's impossible to take a bad picture here. This rock is really, really slick. You need to be careful when you're out here on rocks like this. I almost went off that side of that rock. Well, if it's one thing I've learned from shooting these kinds of photo shoots where you're doing long exposures, is that I need like a 77 or an 82 millimeter circular polarizer and a 10-stop and a 6-stop ND. Then I can use step rings and put it all on my camera as I see fit, depending on which lens I'm using. Because my circular polarizer is 52 millimeter, and the lens I want to put it on is 58. Oh well. So that was a long day out in the middle of the forest. We got a bunch of really interesting photos. We took a bazillion pictures of the riverbed. We've got plenty of photos of like sunstars through the trees. We got some pictures of like kind of macro-ish sorts of things. Basically just took all sorts of pictures of everything we could figure out that was interesting, that didn't have tourists in it, because there was a pretty heavy contingent of tourists in the area. So it turned out really well. We had a good time. So I'm going to run a bunch of these pictures from here on out to the end, just to kind of share some of what we was able to capture with you guys. So with that, this is David, the Georgia Photographer, and I'll talk to y'all later. See y'all.